Yeah, so Mystic, my time machine broke down this week, and that means I can't go like to the future or the past to pull out a different wee to host that week, because that's what I usually do. So do you have a workaround at all or anything? Oh, so you've been working on like a soundboard for me and wee for people to buy to help raise money for the show? Is there a wide enough variety to make it sound like we're having a conversation? Do they sell fruit at Best Buy?
If someone walked in now, it would be the most terrible conversation ever.
I want to make a t-shirt that says that.
Oh dear.
And that's why I'm with Stoked Radio.
Just saying.
Don't say that about Nikki. Oh, yeah.
Oh, there we go.
So many spots.
Don't tell me it's become another sausage fest.
That's what she said. No listening to porn on TeamSpeak.
Jesus.
Douchebag. Hello and welcome to Foundry Files. I'm Admiral Murphy. Whoa, you're not wee. Actually, you might be on this side. I don't know.
Yeah, not wee.
That's not wee. That's Havraha from Podcast UGC.
I am?
Wee is on vacation. Actually, I think he just got back today when we're filming this, but he went to bed. So, yeah. Plus, stuff happened. But anyway, I wanted to have Havraha on because I guest starred in his podcast. So, of course, I felt I had to kidnap him to make up for that. But, not that it was a bad thing. Not that I'm saying that. Actually, it was quite fun. I'm just saying. I'm kidnapping him for my show now.
The best kidnapping ever.
Hell yeah. But, oh, yeah, and if people are noticing, yeah, I got a new setup here. So hopefully it's nicer. So
I'm so jealous.
Yeah. Plus, dude, I love it. It's sweet. It's still not done yet. I have, like, I think, if you've seen pictures on Twitter or anything, there's, like, 4 spaceships here from Star Trek. Like, here's one. This is the one I got in Vegas.
Oh, it looks so good.
I know. So people do know, if you pay attention to the show, every once in a while we will make the comment because he does not get to see my video. Same case here, except now it's fighting back at me because I can't see Havraha's video as we record this. So now I know how wee feels. But yeah, anyway, so tons more Star Trek stuff coming in here hopefully and stuff like that. But of course, we're not here to talk about my room. We are here to talk about the Foundry because this is not my room files. This is Foundry files. So, and there was some news. So why don't we delve into that? But also stay tuned because the reason Havraha's on is because we want to talk characters. So stay tuned for some a more in-depth analysis of character development in your Foundry missions than the quick tips we had before. So stay tuned for that. But first, let's roll right into the news. Welcome to the news. So the news this week is, you remember Havraha, we could make Romulan missions a while ago, right?
I remember that being a thing, yeah.
Yeah. And everybody got really pumped, so they found out there were bugs. So because of the bugs, Romulan creativity ability, the ability to make Romulan missions is now out of the Foundry, so don't bother. It's gone. So I think that's a pretty obvious move there to show that it was not ready for the Foundry. It was probably one of those early things.
Accidental. Yeah, this happened, and everyone was like, "Oh, beta test this for us, guys." Yeah.
Oh wait, no. It always seems like when we get something cool like that, there's always one major flaw, which made me laugh. Mm-hmm. But hopefully, I am hopeful that because it did seem almost done. It seemed like the only issue was you couldn't make a test character and publishing was kind of
you can find it. Oh well.
But other than that, I don't know if there were any other issues. So but I didn't test it because of those 2 flaws. But I'm hoping those were the only 2 flaws because they should hopefully be easy to fix, and that we'll see that come back because I think that's what would get me back into Foundry authoring, because I do have a few mission ideas for Romulan stuff, and there's not a lot of Romulan missions out there, so it is quite an open market where people will be looking for missions. So I know. Did you have an idea for a Romulan mission?
Only like 4 or 5. So
Only 4 or 5. I think I have 2 that I have right now, and then 1 that could possibly be it. But I'm pumped. I just have to find the time.
You know, I also had this like my problem is like a lot of them. The cool thing about the Legacy of Romulus as a campaign is that there's a lot more, I think, star-studded characters that pop up and appear through them, like Slamek and Datan and Obasek and Hakeev and Sila, and they also have well, I guess you can kind of consider your bridge officers star-studded in a way, although the main one, Tobin, I'm not a huge fan of. But because of that...
I know. I didn't care for Tobin either. Varel, all the way.
Yes.
I wanted to see some development with her because you had never seen a female Rumen before, and that was cool.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know more about her. Heck, I wanted to know more about the Rumens in general. They did nothing with her. So please, Cryptic, if you do future missions, Varel.
Yeah.
I want a big... That's actually one of my Foundry mission ideas, is I want to do one where Varel comes to you personally to rescue a friend or something like that from a bad guy.
The reunification of her and her father was not handled very well. I mean, it was like, oh, there he is.
No. In fact, I did not know it until somebody said, no, he's actually one of these dudes.
I missed that too.
I
was complaining.
Spoiler alert, in case you haven't played through it. But yeah, you find him in like a tank or whatever. And I didn't know that was him. I actually went back and played it and got a screenshot of him, and I went, oh, so you basically open his tank up and he's dead. Okay.
Yeah.
They should have done something with that cutscene. I wonder if it was because of the voice actress, they didn't have her around for that many voiceovers, so they were just like, okay, this one episode, done, move on.
Yeah, that could be the case. But, you know, what I decided about that, though, is that because that is such a big deal with the Romulan faction, to do really, really good Romulan missions, you almost need, like, those same NPC contacts. And we don't have the time in the Foundry. I tried to make the time. You cannot make the time.
No, you can't make him.
No, you cannot make because he's missing.
He has his own face model.
Yeah, he's missing his face model. Is his biggest issue. You can make a Riemann that looks a lot like Obasek, but even Obasek has his own base complexion. He has slightly pinker lips on his own complexion versus the ones that we get. So there's some things we're locked off from, and I'm not sure why we're locked off from certain things and other things, because we have Hakeev in the Foundry, we have Sila even in the Foundry. So there's some.
Yeah, Sila's one you think would be a question to put in there because their likeness of the actor or actress.
So don't know what's going on there, but if we can get those, I mean, one of my ideas, I think it's one of my better ideas, it kind of requires. It's more so about the political fallout of the time, because his new Romulus people have kind of noticed that they didn't really elect him. He just kind of shipped in on the flotilla.
That is true.
He was kind of just administrator, and all of a sudden he's ruler.
Hey, follow me.
And so he, being the cool guy that he is, decides, well, okay, let's have an election. Everyone's going to elect me. But unfortunately, he gets a political opponent that has a bit more sway on the heartstrings of the people. And all of a sudden, the soul of New Romulus is threatened because of the ways of old that Romulans have always been a bit partial to. That's my big idea, but I need the time. If I don't have the time, can't do it.
The other thing I'm also worried about is how to approach writing a Romulan mission, because while Cryptic does have those 4 characters you get right off the bat, I'm questioning whether I should write the mission as if you kept those characters, because I know you can delete most of them other than Tovin.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. I'm like, ooh, do I write it as if Varel is still on your ship? Because that really does help as a Foundry author to say, okay, there is a definite character on your ship, so I can do a lot with her. But the other problem you face is there are probably people who deleted her out there, so it would be weird. So I'm trying to figure out what to do.
Well, you could put in the yellow text.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of doing.
Hey,
it's kind of mandatory.
Yeah, bring your original boffs down, and if you deleted them, tough noogies.
Yeah, I guess I think the thing is I wish I knew the numbers of how many people did delete those characters. Yeah. I kept them for my main. For my alts, no. I deleted all of them, and then I changed Tovin to look completely different, And then I realized, oh, you can't change his name though. So now he just kind of sits in the back and does his own little thing on my ults.
You can't.
So
You
it's
can't
just
get
like,
his
go play
name.
in your corner. No, you can't. At least I don't think you can. I think I tried to change it. So I don't know. I'm somebody who wrote in-depth character outlines for each of my buffs and my main because they were fanfiction characters before the game. And while I didn't have much written for Romulans, I was kind of sad that they kind of wrote your characters for you, at least your boss.
Yeah.
So, plus, as somebody who has lots of other characters, it seems very weird to have other characters with the same boss along with other players with the same ones. It kind of takes a little.
Yeah.
bit
You ever walk
to
around on the Paradise City thing and you see like 5 or 6 Tobins?
That's where I've
and you're
noticed
like,
it. And it's just like,
what? Tobin, you're like a what is it?
I make the joke to other Jupiter Force members when we all beam down there. It's like, hey, why do you have my buffs? They're on my ship.
Septuplets or something.
But anyway, other than that, there is more Foundry news. Surprisingly, it's just not Stowe related as of yet, but it is Neverwinter. We're not huge into Neverwinter over here at Foundry Files. I know you don't play Neverwinter that much, but we have heard of the news, and it is good news for the Foundry. We just hope it's going to be good news for the Stowe Foundry, is that they are getting some updates. So, Havraha, do you want to tell people what these next couple updates are going to be for Neverwinter?
Well, the big one's tags, right?
Oh my God! I was on a rant about that in episode 30. That was basically the whole episode was about Foundry Rage on no tags.
And then they came.
That's why.
They were bestowed upon you.
So I'm happy. My rant for Admiral Bobo apparently worked. So at least they listened there.
Did you imagine it the way it was implemented? Of like people will vote on the tag. You don't set the tag. People vote for it. It's kind of like
I didn't imagine it that way, but if it works, I could see that working because at least that takes away the part where people will go, oh, I'll tag everything and then everybody can find my mission. That does take that out. It's just if the player, the only thing I'm worried about is players are going to do it accurate.
Yeah.
I guess it's the only thing, but I could see.
Well, there wasn't a whole lot of options given. It's kind of what it reminded me of, and I actually saw this, and I took I think I took a picture of it with my phone, and I was going to send it off to like someone at Cryptic, and then I realized I didn't know who to send it to, so I just was like, that's stupid. What am I doing? I may have sent it off. I'm not sure, but I was playing the Wii U, and if you go to the eShop where you buy games on Nintendo's shop, Nintendo has a ranking, has a star rating, but they don't just have a star rating. They have like a bar, and it says like one bar will say 45% of gamers think this is a casual game. The other percentage will say this is a hardcore game, and it has like a sliding scale along the line. And people just vote basically when they're leaving a review of if this game is meant for people that don't really care about games or people that really care hard about the high difficulty of the game. And I thought that's really an interesting concept of like voting on a tag, voting on a label. And I took a picture of it and didn't send it off anywhere that I remember. But here it is anyway. It's basically the same thing. That is a tag, hardcore versus casual, and people are voting in a sense. For which one.
So it kind of sounds like what Stowe's going to do. Hopefully they have it as the percentage thing because I think that's good to see how many people think of the mission as this and that. Because from what I heard, it's going to be like mainly story, mainly combat, as like tags and stuff.
Yeah, story, combat. One was exploration, which we kind of all thought that was kind of strange for Neverwinter. Because have you ever played a Neverwinter mission that was exploration?
I played Neverwinter up to like level 18 or something like that.
Farther than I did.
The problem was I did a lot of beta testing.
Yeah.
But I did it on multiple characters just to try the classes out. And then when it hit like the open beta soft release period, I played it then. But once Legacy of Romulus hit, I was like, ooh, Romulans, jump back over to Stowe, and I haven't gone back since. So.
Oh yeah.
But I do find that interesting. I do like I'm happy tags are coming. Hopefully that does come to Stowe soon because I do see that as fixing many of the search problems we right now have with the Foundry. Okay, so what was the second thing, Havraha?
Second thing was the implementation of a 3D camera for the 3D editor, the makeshift 3D editor that they have in the Neverwinter's Foundry. So this was kind of an issue where you can actually go into the Foundry and Neverwinter and move things around in real time. So and make slight adjustments, twist things on different axes, what have you, to really control what you're doing. And the problem with it is, if you're trying to get like right up on it and make really minute changes and like see where where things will be in relation to your character's head or body, it's kind of hard to do it because your character's in the way the entire freaking time. And the new implementation will allow you to detach your camera from your character and actually see what's going on a lot more clearly, zoom in, zoom out. In my opinion, I would actually probably play Neverwinter if they gave me that option in the game itself, because I hate that I cannot zoom in all the way on my character.
I noticed that right off the bat. I was like, I can't zoom in on the
mind-boggling. And I'm not the only one apparently, but it sounds good. These are all cool things that I cannot diss out there here, but I don't play that game, so I hope that comes back to Star Trek Online.
I guess the problem is, like, I looked at the Foundry over there briefly, but it's like, so I did used to run a D&D group for a bit, so I had a little bit of experience doing that, but at this point right now, I'm like, I don't have any stories I really want to tell in the Neverwinter Foundry. It's more of Stowe stories, so I haven't really messed around with the Neverwinter Foundry because I go, where do I start? Do I copy the old D&D campaign I wrote? Is that even possible? Because I know there's probably limitations in the Neverwinter Foundry, just like the Stowe one, whereas you can do certain things but not other things.
Yeah, I found them.
So, yeah.
That's why I stopped using it.
Early stage tool, so. But I think that is all the Foundry news for this week, so hopefully I'm hoping that works its way into some sort of Foundry update from Season 8. I know people on Twitter have been asking, hey, when are we going to hear about any Foundry updates for Season 8, if they're going to happen at all? And apparently they're holding on to any information until closer to Season 8. So.
Well, did they say that for certain? Because that's news to me. They said that.
It was over Twitter. Brandon had said they're going to wait for any Season 8 announcements until closer to the release date. So if that includes Foundry, we shall see. I'm hoping it does, but I'm not holding my breath. My prediction is if they're going to be doing any Foundry updates, it will be after, because it seems like they've tried to keep Foundry updates away from the big season patches, because they usually cause issues anyway with the updates and stuff. So I'm predicting maybe early next year. That's being hopeful, because there is that doubtful side of me where it's like, oh, are we ever going to see an update? I'm going to remain hopeful and say yes, hopefully early next year.
Cool.
But it'll be super sweet, Cryptic, if we could see it in Season 8. Just saying. But anyway, let's move into our Foundry discussion on character development. Alright, so we're going to talk about character development. I don't remember which episode it was. It was one of the early ones, because characters are one of our early story score things that we hit on our score sheet. If you haven't seen our score sheet, I'll try to throw in a link here, but we have a huge score sheet where we will definitely pick apart a mission in every aspect to see what's working with this mission and what's making it either good or bad or stuff like that. So, and one of the categories is characters. We hit some quick tips on writing characters, but of course those are just quick tips to get you started. So we did want to bring on Havraha, who I would have to say is definitely one of the authors who focuses heavy on characters. In fact, I played your last mission, Monolith, and there were a lot of characters in that one, especially some reoccurring.
Yeah, it was.
And there is a very famous character that has become very famous in the Foundry, known as Helna.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And even people who do not play Foundry missions know her because she's in the DOF system. So you know something's up with this character.
Yeah.
To where she has become widely popular. So I do want to ask you, where did the idea of Helna come from?
Where did that come from? Who came up with Helna? That was I just picked that up one day, like everyone else did, and just put it in my okay. Where did Helna come from? Helna came from, well, I guess it came from the original idea of that mission, which was I wanted to do a kind of mission that wasn't in Star Trek Online, but I saw it all the time in the TV show. They did it like at least once per season in every Star Trek series, which was like a bridge officer gets kidnapped, or a bridge officer disappears. What happens to him? Maybe they died, and Geordi is passing through the floor, but had to go find a way to bring him back with protons. Something along those lines. Or maybe Geordi gets kidnapped by Romulans and has his visor manipulated, and all these sort of tropes of the TV series. That's what makes a Star Trek. The tropes. That's what makes any story really recurring and formulaic and awesome. The trope. So I wanted to execute that, and I realized, well, I can't. Because the bridge officers, you have no idea of who they are, where they come from, what their names are, who their brothers and sisters are, why anyone would want to kidnap them. I went, well, that sucks. I'm screwed. And I went, well, wait a second. I can make a character myself. And just say it's like a bridge officer or something along those lines. So I ended up saying, well, who does everyone probably have in their ship, but no one really ever thinks about? I thought, well, no one ever thinks about their stellar cartographer. I mean, that's probably an important job. You need to know where you're going.
Hey, 7 of 9 was quite important on Voyager. I would just say that.
But yeah, I thought that's a good place to start, and I always kind of liked Regilians as from Enterprise, and thought let's stick one in there. And I was only ever I think I was just reinforced to do that when I was talking to people, and people were like, "You like Regilians? They're ugly."
That's what I said at first. Now, here's the thing I'm going to back up. I think I said this on a podcast before. The first reaction you get to Helena when you see her is, ew. What's up with their nose? Because, of course, Rigelians have the weird forward nose holes and wrinkles in their face. And you go, ew. You get to know the character, and you actually figure out she's actually quite a beautiful person inside. And that's what I think that draws me to the character. It feels like a Star Trek character.
Yeah. Well,
and that's what I really liked about
that was something I kind of felt... well, the personality-wise, I just wanted to do something that was different. And I felt like what one thing you just don't see a lot in Star Trek are just girly girls. Girls like to paint their nails. Girls like to just do stuff that girls like to do. Star Trek is a show that I always kind of felt like this. You see two things over and over again. You see kids are never allowed to act like kids. You know, if a kid walks up or if the kid is in the room and Starfleet officers come on and say, "I'm sorry, little Jimmy, but your mom and dad, they were very important officers, and they happened to, they just died in a shuttle accident." The kids have to go, the kids have to go, "Okay, I understand. I'll be strong." And a real kid would never do that. A kid would go, "Wah!" and start to cry, right? But the kids are never allowed to act like kids in Star Trek. And that's something I think SF Debris pointed out first. I noticed when I was watching his stuff, and I agree with that. And I kind of noticed that girl is not really allowed to act very girly. I thought, why not? There's nothing about that keeps them from being competent people or officers or whatever. So I decided, well, Helena is going to be girly. Initially, the character was going to be actually kind of feisty, something that I kind of appreciate in characters of all kinds, just aggressive and go after them. But I had some people beta the original go with a mission for me, and they all came back going, Helena's a bit of a snot. I don't like her very much. And I thought, well, okay, I'm strange then. I like snot characters. But all right, well, let's go for the that other idea for a character I had, and this is combined the two. And boop, she came into existence as is. And I'm happy that people warmed up to her, because I think it's I always kind of find it strange that people judge Rigelians based on how they look, because they would never date them or kiss them or have sex with them, right? But at the same time, you probably, well, unless you're a furry, you probably wouldn't do that to Acacian, right? You probably wouldn't do that to what? Oh, give me something else. A Saurian, right? But Saurian. You never hear people go, "Oh, you like Saurians? They're ugly." Is this weird kind of double standard of, well, why are you okay with them, but you're not okay with them? You don't know. Helena could be sexy in her species, right? So I just kind of decided to depict it as such. Like, there's nothing ugly about Helena to Helena and her ilk and to people that see Helena every day. That's just commonplace. That's the way Helena looks. What's your problem? And it has worked so far.
Yeah, I see. Now I feel bad because the lead female character in like my fan fiction, who's on my ship now in Stowe, is of course a Trill. If people haven't got on to the fact that I love Trills, go back and watch the episodes and stuff, because I'm pretty sure I hint at it a lot. But I made her gorgeous. She's like the dream gal I wish to find, and blah, blah, blah. And then I go and look at Helena and I go, you know what? She may not be like the looker of my Trill character, but boy, she's kind of similar, at least on the inside and stuff like that. Except my Trill character is more of the feisty route and stuff like that.
Well,
but I really did like the differences between the characters, comparing.
Oh yeah, well, to be honest, just to compensate, I did make Helena's body pretty nice. Just to make sure, just in case people just could not get past that face. Well, she's hot. Don't worry about it.
But I think that's another good point to get onto here, is that Helena is, of course, a Doff, somebody you created to be on the ship. And a good tip I think I would give here is, if you want to get really in-depth into a character, never do it with bridge officers.
Yeah.
Ever.
No.
No, you. I think I did this with Victory's Q, which was a spotlight mission for a while, which I may end up resubmitting one day. We'll have to see. But in that mission, I instead of having your bridge officers pop up most of the time, I brought in a Starfleet intelligence officer for the mission, who is to kind of be your assistant on this one as you search for one of the Jem'Hadar attack ships. Actually, I think you played this one because it was for your podcast UGC contest.
Yeah, I did.
And so I brought this guy in, and so I could write a whole story with him, and then at the end have the cute character take him away and just be like, "Hey, let's go to Rise Up." Okay. So that's how I kind of got it right, because I wasn't going to do that with the person's bridge officer, because I don't know the gender, the sex, the alien race. I don't know anything about this character. Whereas if I created my own to be like the guest star on the ship, I could go wild. Mm-hmm. So I feel strongly that never write for a person's bridge officer. In fact, just leave them there to do like the basic, "Oh, sir, we detected this in the asteroid belt," or something.
Yeah, I've always kind of thought of the bridge officers as being the mouthpiece of the captain, or being, at least for the author, being the route in to put words into the captain's mouth without ticking off the player. If you say the captain thinks of this, and I do this quite a bit, and I do it in situations where I think are like common sense. Duh, of course the captain would know this. But I still get people saying, "My captain wouldn't have known this. I didn't think this. Why did you type this in?" or whatever. It's much easier to do that when it is the bridge officer. The science officer says, "Hey, wait a second. I don't think we should listen to this guy. This guy sounds kind of shady." Or oftentimes when I have like a lot that has to be said by the captain, but I can't fit it in the captain button, which I refuse to use actual panels as the wording of the captain. I've seen people do that before, where they like put it in green text and say, "This is the captain." I refuse to do that. I don't like that very much. So I keep everything the captain says in the bubble, and if I can't fit it in the bubble, then it's not what the captain says now. It's one of the bridge officer things. But it's basically, that's a way to get it in there without either running out of room or without ticking off the player. And it's, if you try to use your bridge officers in more than that way, you run the risk of setting off alarms in people's heads. People start to go, "Wait a second, that wouldn't happen," and it's just better to avoid that altogether.
Yeah. Now, I am an author who has written pages for captains and stuff like that, and it just felt necessary for what I was telling. I would say, though, if you're going to go that route, it is preferred if you can give options and stuff like that. And include this for bridge officers, too, because one of the pet peeves I have about Cleon missions is a lot of the time they assume you are having Cleon bridge officers. Mm-hmm. And I know, at least on my ship, there was only one Cleon on the ship. The rest was a wide variety of each race. Yeah. So I had at least one Gorn, one Nausicaan, Ryan, all of them. And they would always speak in these Cleon tones, and it kind of always was like, So do keep that in mind when you're doing that for the Cleon side.
That's hard to get around, because people, when they play Cleon, sometimes they think, Klingon, I'm going to do a Klingon mission. And and if they want to, I think they should, because Klingon stories are awesome, and but the problem with it being, how do you block that off? How do you say, this is a Klingon mission, bring your Klingons? I guess you can put it in the green text again, with the orange text, whatever kind of text you want. Yeah. But
well, I know our workaround for at least the captains was to have different options. So like one fit the Cleon, what they would say, one fit a Gorn, one fit a Orion, stuff like that. Because you could do it for at least the captain with branching dialogue. Yeah. Even if it's just like doesn't lead to different responses for the other characters, at least people feel like they have the option. Yeah. Then I know I did a 5-part series where I made sure as many times as I could to leave 3 options, so at least felt like people were choosing what their captain would say and stuff like that. So that's something to look at. But it would be harder for bridge officers, so I haven't tried to author a Cleon mission. I almost did, but then Legacy of Romulus came around, and that kind of ruined that plan. But I one of the challenges I was facing was what to do about the bridge officers. And I think one of my ways to work around that would have been just bring in other characters.
Yep.
So, but another thing I do want to hit is Helmet is not your only character. You have quite a few characters in your missions. So I don't know if there's any that you want to talk about real quick. But what are some of your tips to writing? Because you have a wide variety of characters. How do you make them feel different and stuff like that?
Well, one thing I like to do is and this is just simple, straightforward. When I come with the character, I say, "What's the gimmick?" That's usually more so for a species. If I'm going to invent a new species, I say, "What's the gimmick?" Spock's got his logic doodad. You know, the Ferengi are all capitalistic. Let's see. Give me someone else. The Trills have symbiotes inside of them, right? Every species has a gimmick, something about them that's like you can boil them down to stereotypes and racism almost if you want to in really unrealistic ways. And so that's very Star Trek, unfortunately. And so you think about how you implement that to original species if you want to, but sometimes I implement it to just characters on a whole. Like what is this character all about? Like what do they wake up in the morning and say, I'm gonna do this and it's just gonna be awesome and I love doing this. And so sometimes I do that with, I think there's Claire Claymore as a security officer who, like, I definitely get the opinion, wakes up in the morning and wants to kick someone's ass, and that's just her motivation throughout the day. Let me go by the book until I can just kick someone's ass. Someone steps over the line and it's done. And that's just kind of a primary motivation for that character that leads her onward. There's also other characters. I think Denor pops up quite a bit as being, and Denor.
2 different missions.
Yeah, she is kind of. I just kind of thought the idea of a we always see the Orions in the Klingon Empire, but they kind of started out in the Sirius sector block. You'd think there'd be some left over, right? You'd think some would move around.
Even in the JJ movie, we saw Orion serving.
So I just decided, oh, here's one. She's in Starfleet. It's not really a big deal. And yeah, there you go. Wednesday Bandit-Hoke is a very not very popular, but one of the more popular characters. She has an entire mission devoted to her. And as you can see, there's kind of a recurring theme here. They're oftentimes more so than not girls. And it's just, I don't know why that is. It just happens to be, I think, ways to make characters interesting. I could do guy heroic, guys, saves the day, what have you. That happens all the time. Girls more interesting. Let's go. And I do that. Not always girls. One of the more recent characters is Radek. He's a young boy, so.
Oh yeah, I remember him in the last mission.
Yeah, and Radek is his personality. His angle of it was he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Like, what's going on around me right now? I don't know. I'm just gonna say yes, no, what? I don't know. I'm just a kid. I don't know anything right now. Can I go play? Kind of an attitude, which I think a kid would probably actually have in the scenario of, just the real world. Why would you want to study when you can go play hide and seek or whatever? So he, of course, he's hide and seeking Tholians in that mission. So.
Yeah, that's actually another interesting character. I forget the actual name the Tholian had in that mission, but I remember the nickname the kid gave.
Yeah.
Was Charlotte. And I found her quite interesting. In fact, I would love to see her pop up again. I'm just saying.
If I do a sequel.
That's pretty cool.
Lethene was going to make... Actually, Lethene was originally started out as 2 different characters. They're both guys. And they're actually going to be shardlings. They're going to be brothers, twin brothers, and they're going to have differing views on how to deal with humans. One was going to be, let's kill them because we're Tholians. That's what good Tholians do. The other one's like, well, wait a second, we can learn about these guys. And as I went about both these characters, I started going back and looking at examples of Tholians in actual Star Trek and how they talk. And I think the only actual Anglo language version of them appears in the Tholian Web TOS. I noticed that the Tholian Web actually is quite clearly a woman voicing the Tholian. I thought, oh, that's right. There can be Tholian women. I think of a Tholian, I think asexual because it's a crystal. Why would they have sexes? But there apparently is male and female Tholians. And thought, make it a girl. Why make it interesting? And so made her.
Plus the mothering nurture.
That did come into play.
Fit with the
it did come into play with Radek a lot too. Where it's. Well, you see, it's almost the opposite way around of a guy has to take care of a girl is almost kind of stereotype in storytelling these days. I mean, what's the game that just came out a couple months back? The Last of Us for PS3. That's just all about that with the big, I'm a big honcho muscular guy with my guns. I know how to survive in post-apocalyptic world. Come on, little girl, walk close to me, kind of thing. It's stereotypical, and you never see kind of a mother-son relationship play out in these kinds of stories.
And it was quite interesting because it's that type of relationship between two very different aliens. And I think that's one of the draws. I would recommend to go play this Mission People Monolith, because the one draw for it is, and I wish Cryptic would do more of this, is this is a very in-depth story for the Tholians,
Yes.
and focusing on their culture and their relationship to every other life form in the galaxy, because, truth behold, every other life form in the galaxy is more like a humanoid. Mm-hmm. You don't see many of the crystal aliens. In fact, I think they're the only ones other than the Horda, really. So, and they have, of course, the view, they're very xenophobic. They don't like humanoids. They think they're just like bugs to be squished and stuff like that. So it's very interesting playing through this mission and seeing this one Tholian's opinion change on humanoids through her interactions with both Radek and you as you go through this.
Well, that was very hard to write because Tholians, as I gathered, are smart, and they're like Vulcans and they're logical. I mean, they don't do anything that would waste time or seems extra.
Yeah, you notice that quite a bit,
and
through both Stowe and the show.
Absolutely.
And it's weird too because we don't know much about them either. From what we can assume is that, in a way, I guess they're timeless. Their empire kind of spans, like, they're interacting with ones from the past and in the future, or other realities and stuff like that. That would be a very interesting thing to see in Foundry missions. So if somebody out there wants to make a mission that kind of explores that, that'd be really cool to see.
I tried to work some of those ideas into it, but
yeah, lots of room though for the Tholians, I would say, in Foundry.
Yeah.
So.
The trick to writing Tholians, though, at least to me, was to somehow make them sound smarter than you, which it's hard.
Or they know more what's going on.
If it sounds hard, it's because it is hard. Because you're like, you write the sentence and then you say, that sounds too colloquial. That sounds like what I would say. Let me go use a thesaurus and find words that are way bigger than I would ever use, and then use these words instead. And now it's smarter than me. It's a very, very simple way to go about it, but it seems to help with the Tholian feel of that character. So, just my advice.
Any other advice you want to give before we get?
Well, just if you don't find the character interesting, no one else will. You know, if you want to make interesting characters, go for it. Sometimes it's taking characters and put them in weird spots. I think one mission I had a Romulan that joined the Cleon Empire. Why would that happen? Usually as soon as you ask why, that should spark some creative juices flowing for you. If creative juices do not flow when you come up with a weird scenario and ask why, you might want to rethink this, because that's such a needed weapon in our arsenal, to be able to come up to fill in the gaps with our own curiosity and just spontaneity with our storytelling. So try that. Try taking something and sticking it somewhere where it doesn't belong, species wise or position wise, and see what happens.
Yeah, because I will agree. I'm going to say characters are very important for your Foundry mission, especially when you're doing storytelling, because this might be personal taste here, but one of the reasons I really enjoyed Deep Space Nine was the characters. I grew more attached to them than the ones I would say in Voyager. I didn't get as attached to the Voyager crew as I did to Deep Space Nine. I think they put a lot of details into the DS9 crew and a lot of differences that I really liked.
Well,
so I will also say you can look at that too.
Here's my critique of Voyager characters. They too search for the gimmick, but their gimmick was too blatant. Far too often, they were like, we want to do a Klingon. Well, Klingon's been done before, so let's do a half Klingon. Or, okay, we want to do this species. But this species that people have never really even seen before, it's just too bland on its own. So we'll do a half species of this and half human. And that's something that you saw a lot with those characters. It seemed like they were trying a little bit too hard to find a gimmick with each character. And I think Deep Space Nine struck a nice chord with those gimmicks are. So.
But anyway, hopefully that helps you when you're designing your characters for your Foundry missions. You can please subscribe if you're watching this video on YouTube, because we are looking for more subscribers. So hit the subscribe button if you can. If you have a mission you would like us to play, because we will be checking out more missions once we is back, you can email those to foundryfiles@gmail.com. We are always looking for new missions to play. And such, there will be more info in the credits and stuff where you can download us and follow us on Twitter and that type of stuff. So you've probably heard all this before. But I want to thank Havraha for coming on to this episode and for guest hosting this week, because there probably wouldn't have been an episode if there was not a guest host. Because I don't like talking by myself like I did in episode 30. It's quite weird.
Are we done?
I
This
think
is so
we're done.
weird.
So, yeah, I know. Oh, yeah,
This is like a bathroom break for
short
me. I
one
don't
compared to
understand.
you. But we'll see you later, guys. So bye. Okay, here we go. Give me a chance. 2 seconds, I'm gonna blow my nose.
Hey Murphy, you're sick.
Maybe. Oh, that's in the audio recording of the Audacity. I forgot about that. Great. Luckily, I'm cutting that out. It's not making it in the bloopers. That's the nice thing about being the editor, is I can take all the bloopers Wooey has, and I don't have to take all mine. So bonus for editing. Anyway, here we go. Character